We're back, baby. It's a charity stripe. Hit your free throws because they are free. Joshua Fisher, Alexander Tossing Rock, Tassopoulos, and Nikki Snacks Kreider. Gentlemen, football season's right around the corner. A lot of wide receivers have been given their top fives. Cooper Kupp gave his. I believe Jamar Chase gave his on I Am Athlete. And who doesn't love giving a top five list? We love making lists. You love it, Nick. Toss loves it. So that's what we're going to do.
I think that's like the bond for all of us is we love making lists together. We came out to LA and I was like, Josh, like, I don't know you that well, but you know, I really like making lists. And you're like, dude, me too. We should start a podcast about all the lists that we've made. And here we are, over 500 episodes in.
Think about realistically, think about all the lists we've done. Our friendship started on when we listed our favorite types of food to order at a Chinese restaurant. That's where Nick and I's friendship. Alex and I was ice cream, very food oriented. Then we went on to discover we all like sports together, and then we formed the charity stripe. For anyone that doesn't know how the sausage was made, what's your favorite thing to order at a Chinese restaurant, Nick? I don't actually remember that original list we made.
I don't know if I was part of that list.
Really?
Was I?
You were part of that list. That's how we became friends.
Yeah. I mean, I am probably your only Chinese friend, right?
That is true. So
for the listeners out there, I'm a quarter Chinese. So
yeah. Let me guess. Are you pork spare ribs?
No, I am not
at all.
No, I don't think I've ever ordered that. I've had it before, but I don't think I'd personally order that. I personally go for salt and pepper shrimp or kung pao beef or kung pao chicken.
Okay. Nice. Toss, I know you weren't part of this list and Nick was. Again, it was a long time ago, but if you want to weigh in on what your favorite thing to order at a Chinese restaurant was, just before we talk football, we'd love to hear.
It's kind of basic, but I'm a big orange chicken guy.
It's not basic. You know what? That's another thing. It's basic or people always get that. Yeah, because it's good.
It is really good. Yeah, I like to get beef lo mein.
Yeah.
I like to get beef lo mein and mix the orange chicken in with the lo mein.
That's nice.
As opposed to the orange chicken with the rice. I like orange chicken with rice. Nothing wrong with that. But something about the lo mein noodles just really does it for me.
Lo mein noodles hit diffy, and everybody knows it. I'm sure, obviously you guys are waiting with bated breath to hear what I like, and I alluded to it earlier, and that would be the pork spare ribs. All right, now let's talk some football.
You can finally eat those now too. You took a 2-year break of meat.
I did take a 2-year break of meat and different Yeah, it's been an interesting road back, but I feel good to be back in the meat gang. I've eaten so much Chick-fil-A since I've been back that it's unseeny. Okay, guys, let's talk football. The top fives are generally going to be what they're going to be across the board. I feel like there's not going to be that many surprises. So our little hitches, we're going to throw 2 or 3 guys we think can work their way in. Some guys may be as expected. So if you have a top 5 and one guy's left off the list, that could be worked in there. But also guys, maybe you feel, hey, they're not getting enough love and, some shot in the darks, some dark horses to get involved in the top 5. We'll start with the quarterbacks.
Yep.
Keep it simple. Nick, I'll go to you, then Toss, and then I'll close that out. So quarterbacks, I know, Nick, you will get to you for receivers. We'll start again with you there first. That's your position of expertise, but we'll go quarterbacks with you first. Top 5 QBs going into the season, and 3 guys you think can work their way into the top 5 for you.
Okay. Yeah. So I've got Patrick Mahomes at number 1. I think that a lot of people probably are sleeping on him for some weird reason because they were sleeping on him last year and they're putting Allen or Rodgers ahead of him or sometimes even Herbert ahead of him. But it's still Patrick Mahomes. He's still one of the most talented players in all the NFL. There's a reason why he's got $500 million on that contract.
Yeah.
I think that he prevails and becomes that top guy again and really lights the AFC on fire. Number 2, I do have Josh Allen just because he took him so far last year, put the whole entire team on his back and his versatility to run the ball, but also have that big playability with his arm. Number 3, I got Aaron Rodgers. How can you not have the 2-time reigning MVP in your top 5? Number 4, I got Justin Herbert. I don't know why I picked Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
But I mean, not even just my bias. He put together the 2 greatest seasons by a first and second year player that anyone's ever seen. Broke records,
statistically,
touchdowns, yards. Yeah, statistically. And look, I mean, he was this close to being in the playoffs last year. If his coach maybe made a better decision, maybe he would be in the playoffs. And who knows how far they would have gone. Teams definitely get hot. But that's my number 4, and then he can definitely work his way up there as well. I mean, he's definitely a sneaky favorite of mine to take the MVP. He's got good odds at betonline.ag. And then number 5, I got Joe Burrow, the kid also returning to the Super Bowl, or from the Super Bowl. I think fully healthy, back a second year. He's got another year to mold all of his receivers together. It's just another year of Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase.
And some quick finger work, because we're live on YouTube right now. Now this is our 1090 episode, but our quick finger work. Toss. Is that you doing that? Somebody else is in here doing that. Wow, very interesting. All right, we have a full-on ticker. Right now going on down below. I'll give mine next. My top 5. There's pretty similar top 5. For me, I have Rodgers 1, back-to-back MVPs. Very tough to not give him the number 1 slot going into the season. I have Mahomes at 2. Until he falls off a cliff, I have Tom Brady at 3. Obviously, I'm buying into the Josh Allen hype. I have him at 4. And I know your boy Herbert is fantastic. Was very close to going to the playoffs last year. Has put up 2 unbelievably great statistical years. But one guy did go to the playoffs last year, and he went to the Super Bowl as well. And that's Joe Burrow, so I have him at 5. So my top 5 would be Rodgers, Mahomes, Brady, Allen, Burrow. Toss, kicking it to you.
I've got a little bit of both of y'all's lists on mine. I've got Rodgers at the 1 spot. I agree with you, Josh. I can't really see anyone else at that slot just because of the back-to-back MVPs, what he's done for as long as he's done, and it doesn't seem like he's slowing down. I've got Mahomes at 2. The distinction between him and Josh Allen for me is that he's won Super Bowl. He's been to 2. Allen still is yet to get there, but they're neck and neck at the 2 and then 3. 4th, I've got Nick's guy. I've got Justin Herbert. The talent it's very real, and he's going into year 3. I expect, even better play from him this year. And then at 5, I have, the respect play with Brady, because until he shows me otherwise, he almost threw for a career high touchdown number last year. We can't forget how good he was. So those are my 5. I did, for all of these lists, I did what do I think right now going into the season? Where do I think it's going to get? And in my 5 at the end of the season, I think Burrow is going to be in there. And I think Brady, this is the year where I don't think he's going to have a bad year. I just think that what Burrow is going to be able to do with that team getting better, getting older, him having, more time to establish a connection with T. Higgins, who he really came on strong with at the end of that season, actually had a higher target share than Jamar Chase, as effective as Jamar Chase was, Jamar Chase was the best deep ball receiver in the league last year. And then the other guy that I'll throw out there, who I don't want us to sleep on, because he's still only 33, but I think Russell Wilson could put together a season where for the next 3 years he's back and he still has so much of his prime left to play, and now he's finally in a good situation for him with an all-encompassing, holistic team that can do it on both sides of the football. I think that Russell Wilson could easily end up back in our top 5 quarterback discussions by the end of the season.
Love that. I'll say my quick guys I think can get in there. Herbert, I left him off the list. He's probably right in there for me. Lamar, you guys know how I feel about the Ravens heading into the season. And then I'm with you on Russell Wilson. I think those are my top 3. Nick, real quick, who are your top 3 guys that can break into the top 5? And then Toss, will go back to you for running backs.
Got to go Brady, number 1. I mean, obvious reasons. Lamar Jackson, number 2. And then you got some stake and some shares on this island, Derek Carr Island.
Whoa!
Pairing up with Damonte Adams again, and obviously Darren Waller getting fully healthy, and Hunter Renfrow, that could be very, very good for Derek Carr.
I don't think I have stake there. I think I have some picket signs there in the past. Nick, you're the one that has stake there. I'm in it though. I'm like,
what do you mean? I have not been vocal about being on his side.
But you've been vocal about the Raiders being like a team that you've, ironically, because your dad supports them a little bit. Am I correct in that feeling?
Yeah.
Your dad supports them a little. So there have been a team that you've always had your eye on. I think we all are starting to buy a little stock in Derek Carr. I feel like this is like Dogecoin for us. We're like testing the waters. Like, can this thing really explode? And the potential's there. If Elon Musk tweets about Derek Carr, maybe we'll have an unbelievable season. All right, toss top 5 running backs real quick, and then give
the
me
other guy
guys
I'll mention.
Yeah.
The other guy I'll mention alongside Derek Carr, because I think he's in a similar boat, but in a slightly different position, where Derek Carr's offensive weapons have gotten a lot better. I think the Dak have gotten worse, but he's the same kind of
good
talent level as Derek Carr, where I think like we're going to be looking, he's going to have a huge microscope on him this next year. And can he become like a top 7 quarterback? And of course, if Dak's playing well, because he's on the Cowboys, people will talk about him as a top 5 quarterback, right? Whether he is from a talent standpoint or not. I'll get into the running backs, though. At the 1, I have Jonathan Taylor. At the 2, I have Derrick Henry. Then I've got Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, then Christian McCaffrey. That's my list.
McCaffrey at the 5. Okay.
Yes.
I have
solely
Henry.
Because of time that he spent on the field.
Okay. I have Henry at the 1. When he is healthy, to me, he is the best running back. I have at the 2, Jonathan Taylor was absolutely phenomenal last season. No one can argue that. At the 3, again, when on the field, obviously he spent time, you just mentioned, off the field with injuries. Christian McCaffrey is one of the most dynamic offensive players we've seen in the last decade. Top 5, I would say, in that category, potentially. I love what Dalvin Cook did last year when he was on the field. It's with the running backs, it's always when they're on the field. These guys get banged up a lot. But when Dalvin's on the field, he, again, is a very dynamic playmaker with the ball in his hands. And there's a lot of pressure on this Vikings team now because, not to cheat myself, but they have 2 guys in the top 5 at wide receiver and at running back. And, running back's shelf life, as we know, is not very long. This is the time for that offense to strike and strike now, especially with Green Bay losing Damonte Adams. Then I have at the 5 spot, this is a lot of stock I'm buying on this island this season. It's Alvin Kamara. And I think that people forgot about him last year. And again, another guy who was absolutely dynamic 2 years ago with 16 rushing touchdowns. I'm not saying he gets back there, but I think, again, with the guy with the ball in his hands, is a threat to make a big play at any moment or at least get good chunk yardage. I love Alvin Kamara. Nick, top 5, and then kick us with your 3 guys that can get in.
Yeah, so Jonathan Taylor, number 1, he had an outstanding season and stayed healthy. Number 2, Nick Chubb. Let's see what happens with Kareem Hunt. Let's see if they, don't give him as many carries or if he gets traded. I mean, they say they're not going to trade him, but that might take away some carries from him. But Nick Chubb also is a big force to be reckoned with. Number 3, Derrick Henry. I mean, it's hard to resist him with that big frame and just how he dominates, but he did come off that injury. So I kind of put the guys that have injuries a little bit lower.
Fair.
Number 4, I took Austin Eckler. Look, he had just as many touchdowns last season as Jonathan Taylor. And now he gets a guy to spell him in the backfield and Isaiah Spillers to give him some plays off. So I think he stays fully healthy and definitely keeps turning up the gear here for the Chargers. Number 5, Dalvin Cook is electric, but the injury history, again, bugs me a little bit. The guys I can sneak in, of course, Christian McCaffrey. I got Harris from the Steelers, and I've got Williams from the Broncos, Javonte Williams. And
yeah, I felt I'd left Javonte Williams and Najee off. Obviously, those guys are unbelievable, and they could totally sneak in. I tried to get a little spicier with things. For me, you guys mentioned him, Nick Chubb. It was tough to leave him off. It's tough to leave Eckler off.
I think it's a mistake that you have Nick Chubb off your top.
I think it's a mistake, too. It's just tough, though, for me because I love Kamara so much. I love Eckler, too, friend of the pod. The next 2 guys I'm throwing out there are complete wild cards, and I'll give you a quick analysis on why I like them. One guy, and I'm going all in on him this year, A.J. Dillon. I think the Packers are going to run the you-know-what out of the football, and nothing against Aaron Jones. I think this is the year that A.J. Dillon could break out. It's in year 3. We saw Derrick Henry kind of move things. He's a massive running back, and we saw him kind of move, not slowly, but at a different pace in his first couple seasons. And then year 3 or 4, he kind of breaks out. I love that for A.J. Dillon. I think they're really going to control the clock, run the football. Everyone's making a big hoopla of who Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the ball to. And I think he's going to put the ball in the running back's hands because both those guys are dynamic. And I think, again, 5+ yards per carry when he's on the field. Injuries were a big issue for him last year, but they add A.J. Brown. They have Devonta Smith. Goddard's a great tight end. And I think this is the year that Miles Sanders puts it all together. And I think he has a nice season. Toss, I know you're shaking your head over there.
Well, Miles Sanders, I mean, we talked about running back health. Miles Sanders truly has shown that he cannot stay healthy.
Yeah.
And it's been a real shame because he is such a dynamic playmaker. That is a great question. Does A.J. Dillon love Josh? We know Josh loves A.J. Dillon. I'm right there with you, Josh. I think A.J. Dillon showed in spurts last year when Aaron Jones went down how dominant he can be. He's actually a much better pass catching back than people give him credit for. The other guy, I have Kamara, and I will be in the top 5 at the end of the season because I think you have to kind of acknowledge where he was at the end of the season last year and how people were talking about him. But when you add Olave, when you bring back Michael Thomas, Jameis is healthy now. I think there's no question that Kamara should make his return back to top 5 running backs. Another guy I'll throw out there, I think Joe Mixon has a real good shot of getting in that top 5 running backs. Zach Taylor really likes relying on that running game to open things up for Joe Burrow. I don't think that's going to change this year. Just because Joe Burrow is getting more comfortable, they still need to start the offense there. And then they can beat people downfield. And I think, Joe Mixon could be a guy that gets 10 plus, maybe 15 touchdowns this year. And I wouldn't be that surprised because he's a dynamic playmaker. But yeah, I like those picks. Nick, I really like the Najee pick. He easily could be a top 3 running back by the end of this year. And I don't think anybody would be batting an eye.
Yeah, no, I agree. He didn't put the ball on the ground last year, and they really relied on him to kind of fill the void for James Conner. And, with a new quarterback coming in, they're really going to rely on the run game here. So I think that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I love the shout out to Mixon. There's actually a lot of depth at the running back, and we mentioned Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook's got a brother in the league right now, and apparently he looks good in camp. His name is James, and he plays for the Buffalo Bills. We'll see. It's a major dark horse. All right, wide receivers, and then we'll save tight ends for segment 2, I guess. Wide receivers, my top 5: Damonte Adams, Justin Jefferson, who I think by the end of the season could be number 1. Cooper Kupp obviously was incredible last year. I have him at number 3. Jamar Chase, unbelievable rookie season. Him and Justin Jefferson, they've already been jawing in a fun way, obviously former LSU teammates, about who the better receiver is. I have Jamar Chase at 4. And at 5, this was tough for me. I think he's like the most underrated or underappreciated receiver in the game. I think every year he's phenomenal. People view him as a kind of mid-range kind of guy, or because of his big frame as a touchdown machine, but he's so good as a deep threat. I have Mike Evans, my number 5.
You put on the Charity Stripe poll, do we think Mike Evans finishes top 10 all time? I don't think that's possible.
I think you should look at his numbers again. And I think I'll kick it to you, Nick, but I think after we're done recording, you should look at his numbers again. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Nick, before you go with your list, Nick, you have Kupp 1, right?
I have the exact same thing Josh has besides number 5. So
how can you not have
1.
Kupp as 1 after he just won the Triple Crown?
I think he's.
I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying he's the best receiver. I just think, but
that's the thing. That's the question.
Coming into the season, he's the best receiver because he was the best receiver.
But numbers wise, who are the wide? I'm looking at this is the way I'm looking at it. Who's the wide receiver I want going into this year? The top 5 in order I would want going into this year. Damonte Adams is number 1. And you know what? Maybe without Rodgers, we'll look at things differently. There's always obviously that way to play. But from just what we've seen, I
get what you're saying. I also believe Damonte Adams is the best receiver in the league, but he's starting with a new quarterback, even though it's a guy that he has a lot of rapport with, but he hasn't taken an NFL snap with this guy before. So that's the reason why I don't
an NFL snap, but he's taking a college. Nick, we're gonna have to break through a segment, so I think we'll wait till we get to segment 2. for your list because we want to get into it a little more, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I'll just give really quickly. I have the same top 4 as you, top 5. Stay tuned for the next segment to hear my number 5. Big cliffhanger.
To hear number 5. But before we get to the segment 2, I do want to say Justin Jefferson, from a talent perspective, we talk about guys that are quarterback. Derek Carr was mentioned in our top 5 potential quarterbacks, as was Joe Burrow. One guy that wasn't mentioned was Kirk Cousins. And not that I dislike Kirk Cousins, but imagine what a guy like, we say this with certain guys throughout history, like DeAndre Hopkins. Like, imagine what Justin Jefferson, I'll leave it this, can do with a guy who's mentioned in that top 5 quarterback list. He's so dynamic in every facet of the game. I think this is the year that he breaks out as the number 1 receiver. And it's crazy at the Minnesota Vikings, year after year, if you go through history, have had guys like Chris Carter and Randy Moss. We're the charity stripe. Joshua Fisher, Alexander Desopoulos, Nikki Snacks Crider. We'll be back in just a hot second with Nick's top 5 wide receivers, breaking it down. We're back, baby. It's the charity stripe. Hit your free throws because they are free. Joshua Fisher, Alexander Desopoulos, Nikki Snacks Crider. We left off talking wide receivers, top 5 going into this year. We'll get to guys we think can break in. Nick, just so we remind the people a little bit, your top 5 wide receivers. We gave you the top 4, and Nick, you're going to reveal your number 5 right now.
Yeah, so the top 4, number 1 was Damonte Adams, number 2, Justin Jefferson, number 3, Cooper Kupp, number 4, Jamar Chase. Have the exact same top 4 as Josh, although he had Mike Evans at number 5. I'm going with Tyreek Hill at number 5. Made a big splash this offseason, getting traded to the Miami Dolphins. Look, Tua and Jalen Waddle had something very special in Miami last season. I think that'll continue, but adding that extra wide receiver that stretches out the field, that can be so dynamic with the ball, I think Tyreek Hill definitely makes some big plays there. I don't buy into the fact that Mahomes, made him the great receiver that he is. He was already great, in my opinion, although Mahomes definitely is one of the best of all time. There might be a slight learning curve to get on the same page as Tua Tagovailoa, but I do buy into Tyreek Hill. And then a couple guys that I think can sneak their way in, and we take that with a grain of salt when I say sneak their way in because they've been in before. Stephon Diggs, of course. I mean, last year he was one of those guys. AJ Brown comes to a new team, gets a change in scenery. I think he's motivated. And then number 3, toss your boy CeeDee Lamb. He's going to be the top target for Dak here, and he might have to step up in a big way with all the injuries they have right now.
Nice toss. Nick, we're on the same page of wide receivers, but toss, we'll go to you because you had some pushback on why neither of us had Cooper Kupp at number 1, let alone number 2 even. So your top 5, give us your 3 guys that can get in, and I'll give you my 3 that can get in at wide receiver.
Cool, yeah. I have Kupp at 1, then I have Jefferson at 2, Chase at 3, Devontae at 4, and I have Diggs at 5. But this is really like, it's a power rankings. My list is more of a power ranking. So what they did the previous season has a lot to do with it. Obviously, Devontae had a fantastic season, but I'm factoring in that he is with Derek Carr, that Renfro was a major target there, that Waller was a major target there, that they like to run the football out with Josh Jacobs, and that Cooper Kupp had one of the best seasons we've ever seen a receiver have. And yes, we had an extra week, but in the schedule, but I don't want to discredit that. I don't think he's going to be back at the number 1 slot by the end of this season. I think that with Stafford's health issues and, what teams are going to do defensively to try and mitigate what Kupp can do on the field, he'll take a slight step back, but he's also one of those guys where you can try, but you're not going to be able to stop him. You're just going to be able to potentially contain him. But I will say with Kupp and with Adams, where I'd like to see Jefferson kind of grow his game, and part of it has to do with the quarterback he's playing with and the other wide receiver personnel on that team. He's not as savvy as a red zone target right now as Kupp and Damonte Adams are. Damonte Adams is automatic in the end zone. Absolutely automatic.
Yeah.
And so is Cooper Kupp. Within 5 yards, when you only have to run a 5 to 10 yard route, those two guys run better routes than anyone in the NFL. And
yeah,
I'd like to see Jefferson has good size, so he should be able to be that type of receiver too. I think, obviously he's a great threat. So is Chase. Chase is a little bit bigger, but I think for me, Chase, what he needs to show is he needs to get 30 more targets. He needs to get 50 more targets and 30 more catches, rather. He needs to become a possession guy, not just a deep threat guy, for him to kind of get into that top two, potentially vying for the one spot. But I think he has the talent. I like your Jefferson ending up at the one slot by the end of the season. I love Damonte Adams. And then Diggs, I think, he had a quote unquote down year last year, but he was still incredibly productive. And I think if he has a get right year this year, that's a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL statistically. So Nick, I really like your pick for him, especially with that air raid offense in Buffalo. CD, I think, is worth mentioning as well. AJ's a little tough for me because of Hurts. I just don't know. Like at this point, as from a passing standpoint, I think that Tannehill's a better quarterback than Hurts is. But Hurts is so young that he has so much room for progress. I'm trying to think of any other guys that could kind of sneak in there. Mike Evans, obviously, I think is worth noting. Josh, you already had.
I would just say, like, with Hurts, that his improvisational skills and being able to move around the pocket and get out and throw on the run help and benefit AJ Brown, because if the play breaks down, AJ just breaks off his route and he can dump it off. And that creates for more big plays. And then my pushback on Diggs is that there's been games where Stephon Diggs has like 2 catches or like 3 catches. And that's nothing, to his fault. It's the fact that Josh Allen rushes the ball for 20 times, right? Or like they don't throw it enough. So that's all scheme and play. And so he is a great receiver, but in terms of a top 5 power rankings, it's hard for me to put him in there just because sometimes he has those games where there's literally no productivity. And that's not his fault.
Yeah, I think reevaluating my like coming in list, I'd probably take Diggs off of that and have him where you had him. Is I think he can be back in there because from a talent standpoint, I think he certainly has the skill set. Tyreek Hill, the improvisational thing is interesting because I'm a little bit worried about Tua's ability to find him on those improvisational routes where Tyreek was so successful with Patrick Mahomes. No one was better at getting out of the pocket and then slinging it 50 yards, 60 yards down the field to Tyreek Hill, who at that point
no better combo
space.
Yeah, there's no better combo between those two.
So I have no doubt that he can hit him on the quick slants. I have no doubt that he can hit him on those screen passes, and then it's just Tyreek, do your thing. But I'm really going to be honing in on if Tua can escape out of the pocket and make Tyreek and show off what Tyreek really can do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would love to throw, I'm all in on CeeDee Lamb. You guys know that. I'm where you are I'm where everyone is with Diggs. 2 guys I want to throw out, 2 former top 5 guys. 1 guy suspended, DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's going to get reduced to 4 games. Apparently he looks good in camp. He's a Buckeye, so I'm riding with him. Michael Thomas. Don't be surprised if MT makes a comeback this year, and the biggest wild card I'll ever throw out, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, tight ends, guys. Let's get to tight end. I do love Hop, and I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I just love also saying his name. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but just fun to say the way I'm saying it. Anyway, tight ends.
This one's easy, right?
Yeah, super easy.
So I'll go first.
Just go. Yeah, sling it.
Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, Waller, Pitts. That's my list.
I think we all probably had the same list, but just it's in different orders. Right, Josh?
Yeah. I have Wait. Can you give me yours again? Just one more time.
Kelsey 1, Kittle 2, Andrews 3. Again, this is power ranking, so a lot of this is coming off of his performance last year. Waller 4, then Pitts 5.
Mine's different, but similar. I have the same top 3. I have Pitts at 4. I have Goddard at 5. Nick?
I've got the same as Toss. However, it's just in different order. I've got Kelsey 1, Waller 2, Andrews 3, Kittle 4, Pitts 5.
Kittle 4?
Classic me disrespecting Waller, Nick putting him high. Classic Nick disrespecting Kittle, me putting him high. That's classic right there.
Kittle's got a guy who hasn't played in the league very long, and Trey Lance throwing to him.
Yeah, I have Waller in the outside looking in at the 5, 6 slot.
I think it's a mistake.
Okay, that's fine. I know you think it's a mistake.
I mean, look, they were double teaming him a lot. Now, who's going to want to double team him when there's Damonte Adams on the field?
Sure, 100%. That's a fair way to look at it. I have Hawkinson getting in there. You guys know I love TJ Hawkinson. And look, I love a tight end that can do it all. Block, receive. That's why I have Kittle at 2. So I still will always herald Rob Gronkowski as the GOAT, not even because I'm a Patriots fan. Even though Kelsey's phenomenal, and Tony Gonzalez and Tony, we could go on and on about it. Pat Freiermuth, Pittsburgh Steelers, is a guy I wanted to throw out there. Unbelievable. He's a good blocker and unbelievable at contested catches. He's a real force. And I think he's going to Deontay Johnson, George Pickens has been getting great love in camp. I think Claypool still got some talent. Najee Harris. I think we're going to see something really interesting at the quarterback position in Pittsburgh. Big Ben was so terrible last year, and they still made the playoffs. You may see a Tannehill-like resurgence by number 10, Mitchell Trubisky.
Wow.
There's a reason you took him at number 2, and I think they just failed him in Chicago. I'm not saying he's going to be an elite quarterback. I'm just saying that he has more of a chance to be a starting quarterback in the NFL than, let's say, a guy like Sam Darnold.
I like your Muth pick for sure. I just think that he can't do the same thing as at least my top 4 guys, even my top 5 guys can do from a yak standpoint. After the catch, he's not as good as Kelsey or Kittle or Waller or Andrews. He's just not as those guys. He's not as fast. You're right. He can do it all, except Kelsey can. What do you have? Like a 60-yard touchdown last year? I mean, it was his longest of his career. I love Muth. I love the Muth, though. He's a great red zone target, Josh. So is Hawkinson. I worry what they can do after the catch. Not worry, but that's my point of contention why they're not those other guys to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got 3 guys that can sink their way in. Hawkinson, of course. I mean, we loved him last season, and if he didn't get hurt, in the middle of the season, maybe he even is in the top 5. Dalton Knox, number 2, big red zone target for Josh Allen. I mean, he loved him, and I think that just continues. And then number 3, this is a sneaky one. Justin Herbert targeted tight ends 137 times last season. That's
okay,
that's a lot. They actually get an upgrade from Jared Cook to Everett. So I think that's potentially a sneaky tight end to work his way in there, just in terms of targets.
If you're going to throw that guy in there, then I have to throw out Dalton Schultz too, because that guy actually could lead tight ends in receptions, and I wouldn't be surprised. He's got a great mind meld with Dak Prescott, and is just a receptions beast. So if you're a PPR guy and you're not the type to take a tight end in your top 3 picks, we're talking fantasy here, and you want to wait on a tight end, I think Dalton Schultz is a good pick there.
If Gerald Everett is a top 5 fantasy tight end, I will do a reverse dinner at any restaurant you want. Cake, steak, salad.
Steak, and salad?
In that order. You could be at the nicest place ever, and I'll order that in the reverse dinner. I'll reverse dinner myself. And I already owe somebody else a reverse dinner, so at this point, what's there to lose? All right. Great top 5s, guys. Toss, we'll kick it to you, man. We'll let you lead the charge on baseball, and any shout outs we have to give some advertisers, of course. But
we shouted out our wonderful sponsors, betonline.ag, but I'll just plug them again here. Go to betonline.ag, use the promo code BELIEVE50, get 50% off on your first deposit. Plenty of fun bets there. You can bet on the rest of the MLB season. You can bet on who's going to win the World Series. Nick, I want to start with you. Since acquiring Soto, it started rocky, but I think that, that Manny Machado walk-off and winning that game the other night, do you think that kind of flipped the tide a little bit, and hopefully that momentum can progress and take this Padres team where they need to go and prime them for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, look, they were on a 5-game losing streak. During that losing streak, they had, I think, a 23 or 24 inning scoreless streak. They had a tough stretch against the Dodgers, and then they got shut out 1-0 against the Giants in the first game of the series. And then the resurgence of the offense came back. The shaky part is they were up 3-1 in that game too, and Josh Hader gave up 3 runs to blow the lead. So that's the only reason Manny Machado had to hit that walk-off. But it's definitely kind of the kick in the butt that the team needs, right, to kind of fuel the fire and give them the motivation that they need. And then in game 2, the offense explodes for 13 runs. So 20 runs in 18 innings is something nice. And I do think that, it is the Giants who are sub 500, but they've got another series coming up against the Nationals. That is another sub 500 team. So hopefully they ride that momentum. And, Juan Soto gets probably a nice welcome back home. I mean, the fans can't be mad at him for leaving, but at the same time, like, they got to understand, I feel bad for Luke Voigt. He's going to look across the dugout and see his old team. And then after that Washington series, we go to Miami, and then we come back again for Washington. So it's a good stretch of games coming up. That Miami rotation is good, but they're very beatable. They're also sub 500. So, we want to go in there and just keep the momentum going and see if we can chip away at that wild card standing.
Miami stinks offensively.
They do.
Let's just say how it is. The NL's hot though. That's the only scary thing about it. Like, the Padres can get hot, but every other team is scorching hot as well. If you look at the wild card spots, I think the Brewers are falling off. I think we've said it time and time again, they were beyond asleep at the wheel, dangerously so at the wild card. I mean, at the trade deadline. They're going to miss the playoffs. The Phillies, you guys get Tatis Jr. back, but the Phillies are going to get Bryce Harper back. Rhys Hoskins, I don't know. For years, I've been saying Rhys Hoskins is going to be amazing. And finally, in the second half, he's absolutely been a monster. Real Muto has been unbelievable. Their 1-2 of Wheeler and Nola is extremely dangerous. And then you have the Braves, who I will say looked very human against the New York Mets, who in their own right might be the hottest team in baseball outside the Dodgers. Them and the Dodgers are scorching hot. Cody Bellinger maybe turning it around.
Joey Gallo hit a home run too. Look, I don't want to put this out there, but if both of those guys are hot for the next 50 games coming into the playoffs, we saw what Cody did last year, 2 years ago. That could make a huge impact for this team and take some pressure off of guys like Justin Turner, who hasn't had a great season. So the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Padres. I mean, we're talking about 3 teams right there, the Braves, 4 teams that just have unlimited bats at their disposal, which means so much because there's so many good pitchers. And obviously the Mets have the dynamic 1-2 punch. Josh, what do you think? Take it to the American League for a second here. Are the Astros primed to be nearly waltzing into the World Series?
It's a 2-horse race.
Got it.
And one of the horses is severely injured right now.
Yeah.
Not from actual injury perspective, but the horse isn't trotting as fast as it usually does.
No, and that would be the horse up in the Northeast, I assume you're alluding to.
Yep.
Well, that's why I even asked the question.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You still feel they are a viable contender and just as good of a team to beat out Houston for the race to the World Series on the AL side.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees could go to the World Series, and I wouldn't bat an eyelid for sure. They are not as good as the Houston Astros, and I've been saying that for a long time. They don't have the rotation. And in the playoffs, going into the playoffs this year, who would I rather have, Justin Verlander or Garrett Cole? It's a no contest. It's Justin Verlander. Valdez has been phenomenal. Urquidy had a rough start his last time out, but he's really nice. Garcia, their bullpen is sweet. Their lineup is ferocious. The Yankees have the MVPs, minus 450 right now. Aaron Judge is it's a lock. It's almost, and considering what Ohtani's done on the mound and at B, I mean, dude, like, he pitched like 6 shutout or 1-run innings the other day and hit a home run. It was crazy. And still the MVP is Aaron Judge. The Yankees can still do it. The Twins, the Guardians, the White Sox, whoever comes out of the AL Central, pat yourself on the back. The Mariners are just going to be happy to get in there. The Blue Jays, for as much talent as on the roster, just can't seem to quite click that second gear. And then that's it. Like, we're talking about the Rays and the Orioles. I mean, you don't have the bloodbath that's going to be the NL. And that could be in Houston's favor. Houston will have a bye, so they avoid that 3-game. There's a 3-game playoff, best of 3 for their wild card round. Then you enter the best of 5. They're as lethal as anybody in a best of 5, and then it gets even more lethal in a best of 7. The Astros can make quick work in the first playoff series. They'll get the rest. They'll make quick work in the first playoff series they have. And then if they do meet the Yankees, like Clay Holmes showing he's human. Mr. Cortez is nice, obviously. But they've lost Severino. He's injured. I mean, Stanton's hurt, LeMahieu's been really good. Judge, again, like I've said, has been unbelievable. But the Astros lineup is like the Padres. It's murderer's row. But the NL is extremely interesting, in my opinion. I'll really quickly. Sorry, Nick.
I just want to throw a quick stat out there. The Yankees are 12-18 in their last 30 games. So
they're human. They're human.
That is something that's really it's scary. I mean, for the Yankees to be so, they have so many players on their team that are worth so much, and even them, they have these cold streaks, and if they get cold at the wrong time, then they can get bounced in the first round.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what's not cold? What produces some sound? Sonos Ray. You should go to Sonos's website, and if you need a new sound bar that you want to hook up to your TV or just a speaker for your place while you're cooking or whatever, cleaning, go get Sonos Ray. Nick is actually about to get Sonos Ray today, install it, which takes about 5 minutes. He's going to be so excited to listen to that crisp, clear sound of the Sonos Ray. Check it out. We love Sonos, and we love the listeners. We love the listeners.
Mm-hmm. We love the listeners. We love Sonos. And before we rock and roll, I want to throw out a crazy bet.
We love Sotos.
Sotos. Sotos. I want to throw out a crazy bet for MVP. Nolan Arenado. I'll leave it at that. All right, fans out there. Drag both feet in bounds. Swing on a full count. Rip that puck. Hit that putt. Hit your PKs because they are free. And hit your free throws, guys. Why?
Because they're free.
Because they're free. We out you. We love you. See you next time.